All right, it's 1 p.m. Friday, the 4th of April 2025. I just want to talk about what we'd be paying for fuel today if Howard's Liberal government in 2001 hadn't halted the excise indexation, and then it remained halted through Rudd-Gillard right up to 2014 when Abbott reintroduced it, and it was peaked at about 38.16 cents per litre. So it's not hard to do these numbers, just time consuming. You've got to go and dig up all the quarterly CPI results, pop it in a bit of a spreadsheet. So that's what I've done. So let's get on to the main subject. Just because I'm interested in such things, I thought I'd figure out what we'd be paying today if Howard hadn't halted the excise indexation back in 2001. Don't think for a minute that I'm an apologist for any politician. This wasn't really done to benefit the population. As I recall, the Howard government was really on the nose at the time, and they were looking for ways to become more popular. 2001 is also the year that Howard sold gas into the export market at record low prices with no contract caveat or contract amendment to adjust prices or review prices monthly, quarterly, 6 monthly, annually to account for movements in oil or currency, and that would probably be where you'd link that. He sold that gas with no PRRT, resource rent tax, petroleum resource rent tax. That's basically free gas to those selling it. And he sold that gas without any domestic reservation policy. I'm all for free markets, but we need to take care of the home grounds first. And Howard failed to do that. Don't worry, Rudd-Gillard continued to do the same thing through their tenure. So all tarred with the brush, that has turned out to be very detrimental for this country when you look at gas being the major contributor to our electricity prices today. So excise today is 50.8 cents per litre plus 5.08 cents GST. That's the one we should be pissed about, is GST on the excise. So without that pause from 2001 to 2014, the excise component today would be 92.56 cents per litre, and of course plus 9.256 cents per litre GST. So a total of 101.816 cents per litre, as against 50.8 plus 5.08, which is 55.88 cents per litre today. So that'll be plus 41.76 cents per litre and plus 4.176 cents per litre GST. So that would take us to, and the calculation would go like this: my local service station, I just checked it 2 minutes ago on Petrol, 177.7. Take away your GST at 16.15, take away your 50.8, that gives you 110.75 raw material cost in your tanks, plus your 92.56 for theoretical excise. That gives you 203.31 cents per litre, plus your 20.33 GST on that number, and you're paying $2.23.64, so $2.25 a litre today. I would say we are at a cheap phase of the cycle, although we don't have big cycles here in Toowoomba that last a couple of months at a time. So that just gives a bit of an indication on where that would be at today in 2025. So with Dutton saying that he'll halve the excise for a year if he wins government, that's going to be about a $6 billion hit to the budget. It should be fairly easy to calculate that. They've got all the numbers. There are some deeper issues within the fuel excise if we're looking at it just as a revenue raiser. So petrol usage from 2001, so that's petrol, has fallen almost 5% to the end of 2023. Apparently I can't get accurate figures for 2024 until 2026. Go figure. I wouldn't have thought that'd be that hard. So it's fallen from 18.7 billion litres to 17.8 billion litres. So that's 4.95% or something. Diesel usage, on the other hand, has increased from 13.5 billion litres to 32 billion litres. 77-80% of that's used in road transport, and road transport attracts some, well, they don't call it the excise, but it's worked through the excise, so they call it a road user charge. I'll go through that calculation in a minute. And then of course you've got things like rail, maritime, mining and agriculture. Well, they get all the excise back. They just claim it all back. And that's how life works in the excise world. So the budget is actually facing quite declining sets of revenues on the main fuel that it's collecting excise revenues from. So the calculation of the road user charge, which is going up at 6% per annum, 2023-2024 was 28.8 cents per litre. 24-25, which is where we're at now, 30.5 cents per litre. In 25-26, that will move to 32.4 cents per litre. I don't believe there's anything in place for after that. So you take your excise at 50.8 and you minus 30.5 and you get 20.3. So that'll hold true now until the end of August, when the next CPI increase to the excise will kick in, the excise will rise, and there'll be less coming back to the road transport user. One of the more innovative transport companies I used to deal with, I think he was running about 18 trucks, road trains. he used his GPS data at the end of each month. He spent a fair bit of time on the roads, but quite a bit of time on properties, heading in to pick grain up on the property, getting it back onto the road before he took it off to wherever his silos or off to the point of sale. So he was using his GPS data to claim the full excise when that truck was off the road. The psychology of this really interests me, and not only this particular exchange, but all exchanges like this. So this again comes from X, and it was just after, or X or Twitter, just after Dutton announced he was going to halve the excise for a year if he won government. The original poster was pretty excited about how much it's going to save truckies, who fill up is 300 litres, and I don't know many truckies, not the long haul stuff that's filling up at 300 litres, and some of them put in 1,000, 2,000 litres at a shot. And then a reply regarding the road user charge, and he said, unless fuel tax rebate, unless it changes, no benefit to the truckie. And he's quite right there. And the OP goes straight to being hostile, and you're obviously confused. You have no idea what you're talking about. Then some back and forth, and I'll post all that up here. The original poster asking, WTF has a fuel credit rebate got to do with the cost of fuel? It's got everything to do with the cost of fuel, because it's paid, claimed and paid in cents per litre. That's me talking there. And I didn't get involved. I don't get involved. Then the guy that was doing the replying posted again, explained it reasonably well, and it was just dismissed by the original poster. And then another one from the guy replying, then an answer explaining it and dismissed by the original poster, basically just told him to go away. And then the guy that was doing the replying just simply asked, well, you don't like facts. I'm not going to get into the personalities, that's fine. Everyone's entitled to an opinion. But what really gets me is the psychology of people being so wrong on something that is so easy to find out and continuing to double down on being so wrong. I don't get that. And I guess social media without face-to-face might assist in that, but surely the original poster could have said, oh, okay, well, explain to me where I'm wrong. You know, it could have been quite a beneficial conversation, but that doesn't seem to happen a lot. Psychology is really interesting to me on how people can double down on being wrong and be very confident in doubling down on being wrong.